Welcome everybody to another video on the Parsha. So I have three subjects I would like to speak about this week in Parshas Vayeishev. Firstly, the first subject is, why does the Torah start saying these are the offspring of Yakov? And then instead of saying the offspring, it doesn't mention the offspring, rather it just starts a whole big long story which continues till the end of the whole book, Sefer Vayeishev. The second thing I would like to speak about, what's going on, the whole jealousy in between Yosef and his brothers. And the third thing I would like to speak about is the dream. So I'm going to mainly be based on the Ramban, but I am going to add a little bit of Malbim to understand the beginning. But first, let's go based on the Ramban. Let's understand the Torah says, Vayeishev Yakov be'eretz megrei aviv be'eretz Canaan. Remember, Yakov dwelled in the land that his father, of the dwelling or the living ger of his fathers, in the land of Canaan. So remember beforehand, the end of Parshas Vayeishev, the Torah mentioned Esav's offspring and mentioned Esav. And the Esav left Eretz Yisrael because of Yaakov's brother and all of that. And the Torah says, but Yaakov dwelled in the land, Vayeishev Yaakov be'eretz Canaan, be'eretz megrei aviv be'eretz Canaan. So the Ramban says, contrary to Esav, that he got his own land already, by Yakov Avinu, what Hashem told Avram Avinu, that your offspring will be a ger, will be a foreigner in a land that's not theirs, already happened at this stage, because he was in a land that wasn't his, in Eretz Yisrael, which was still not given to him, and he was considered a ger, and that's why it says Be'eretz megrei aviv, the place where his father was a ger, in the land of Canaan. So these are and then the Torah continues and says, Eila Toldos Yaakov Yosef ben 17 shana. And the reason it speaks about the Toldos of Yakov now is because it mentioned before the Toldos of Esav, who was the Bechor, but it mentions him first because, it wants to continue with Yakov, and Yakov is the Ikar, is the most important. And now, the Ramban says that the Toldos are the offspring, it says it in short, because we'll understand from the story who are the offspring and all of that, and just those Yakov, Yosef ben 17 shana, Yosef was 17 years old, he was shepherding with his brothers, and that's the offspring. Then it continues the story. The other way of explaining the offspring over here is, these are the offspring of Yakov, meaning all the offspring that are mentioned in this book, even at the end, all the 70 souls that went down to Mitzrayim. So therefore it mentions the whole story, and that's the main subject. And so that's the Ramban points out over here. I'll give the Malbim's explanation on this afterwards, but first I want to continue with the Ramban's theme. So Yosef, so these are the offspring of Yakov. Yosef ben 17 shana. Yosef was 17 years old. He was young. He would shepherd with the sheep with his brothers, but sowing the sheep. V'hu na'ar. He was a lad, young. Espenezel bilha v'espenezel panashe aviv v'yavei Yosef es dibasam ra'a el avihem. So he was a lad with Bnei Bilha and Bnei Zilpa, meaning he was with them, playing with them and all of that. He was around them. And because he was around them, he brought the bad things that they said or spoke or did, he would bring them to their fathers. So the sons of the Shfachos, the sons of Bnei Zilpa and Bilha, those were the ones that he brought bad to their fathers. So now, just the way to explain the second pasuk, the Ramban, one of the ways the Ramban explains the second part of the pasuk, the way he explains this pasuk is like this. Yosef was 17 years old. He would shepherd the sheep with his brothers, and then the second half of this verse of this pasuk is an explanation of that. Vehu na'ar, that's the explanation of 17 years old, meaning he was young. Espenei bilha v'espenezel panashe aviv. He would shepherd. What does it mean? He would shepherd sheep with his brothers, with the sons of Bilha and the sons of Zilpa, the wives of his father, and he brought a bad report to their father. So that okay, that's good. So that's a reason that the sons of the Shvachos should hate him. Now, why did the sons of Leah hate him? We'll see in a minute. Which we'll see, it wasn't Reuven didn't hate him. Yehuda, it was hated him, but to a level, not to a full level. Reuven, we don't know if he hated him or not, but he certainly wasn't going to kill him or anything like that. And Yehuda also. But anyhow, but they did hate him, it seems like. So V'Yisrael have is, and the Torah is bringing another reason for hatred. Yisrael Yakov loved Yosef from all his children because he was a ben zekunim. Now there's a lot of explanations. One explanation is ben zekunim. So some explain a child for his old age. The Ramban doesn't like this because he says all his children were born in his old age and not such big gaps in between them. So therefore, the better understanding is ben zekunim. He was the one. There was a certain kid that he would choose to teach and learn with and all of that and give over his wisdom. So that's why it doesn't say ben zekunim. It says ben zekunim hu loi. To him he was a ben zekunim, meaning he was the one that he gave over everything, all his learning, all his understanding, his everything about life that Yakov had, he gave over to Yosef. And he made him a special garment of stripes. All of this is a proof that all these three things, according to the Ramban, are proof that Yakov loved Yosef more than the rest of his brothers, and a cause for his brothers to hate him. His brothers saw that they hated him, and they didn't speak to him in peace. They couldn't speak to him in peace. So that's the Ramban's understanding over here. Let's go on. I would like to show you the Malbim. The beginning says quite the opposite. Vayeishev Yakov dwelled in the land that his fathers lived, in the land of Canaan. So the Malbim says it's not trying to tell us that he was a ger in Eretz Yisrael. It's telling us the opposite. It's telling us that Yaakov dwelled in the land that his fathers dwelled, so he felt like it was his home, ancestral home. Secondly, in the land of Canaan. What does it mean, the land of Canaan? So the Ramban explained the land of Canaan, Canaan meaning not Eretz Yisrael, a land that's not theirs. But the Malbim says the point is not. It was called Eretz Canaan even when Bnei Yisrael took it, but the point is not Canaan, the name of the people that were there, but it's Eretz Canaan. The point is the place, and the meaning. It's just called after the place, not that it was for the Canaanim then, but it was a special holy place, and that Hashem has a special connection with, and connects to the Jewish people over there, in a special way. So Yaakov would never have left the land of Canaan, not even through a famine. And we see a famine was not enough to get Yaakov to go. He sent his children to go and get food, but he wasn't planning on going. Only the whole story with Yosef caused him at the end to go down, and that's how it starts. That the whole story starts with Yaakov not willing to go to Egypt to do this big, not that Hashem told him about it, but he of course he wouldn't have refused by a commandment of Hashem, but Hashem didn't want to do it like that. And so basically, this whole story is Hashem is the Torah telling us how Hashem caused a plan to cause all of the Bnei Israel to come down to Egypt and to go through Kur HaBarzel, and be refined when they come out to get the giving of the Torah and become the chosen nation, to accept the Torah and become the chosen nation of Hashem. So now the Ramban continues by the Malbim continues by saying that now the Torah tells us both sides, why Yosef was, in his understanding, he was right, and why the brothers, in their understanding, they thought that they were right. So the Torah tells us Yosef was 17 years old He was 17 years old. Now, the Malbim explains it literally. He would shepherd his brothers and the sheep. So what does that mean? So he gives a few explanations. That he would teach them how to shepherd sheep, meaning he would teach them all the wisdom of all the tricks and everything about how to shepherd sheep or whatever. That's one explanation. Another explanation is the Malbim says is that while they're at the sheep, he would teach them in wisdom and all of that. In other words, he was showing off as a extra special, wise, smart person. And he, so that was a reason that in the eyes of his brother, he was acting haughty and gaivadik and all of that. In his eyes, he was like, he saw himself as someone that is telling them the message, basically trying to tell them Hashem's ways and all of that, if that was the case. Now, by the way, we see this theme from Yosef through everywhere he went. He found favor in the eyes of Potiphar, and then the Sar Beit Asar. Wherever he went, people found favor in his eyes. It was and it shows how much hatzlacha, how much success he had wherever he was. So you could see he was this type of person, of course, given from Hashem. But anyhow, and then the Torah continues and says the opposite idea that Yosef had. V'u na'ar. Now the word na'ar a lot of times in the Torah means service. So na'ar, he served the sons of the concubines, meaning in a certain way he made himself higher than them and taught them and all of that, all the tribes, all the sons of Yakov. And then on the other way, he would act as a servant to the sons of the lowest ones of the tribes, the Shvachos, Bnei Bilha and Bnei Zilpa. So, and he understood it as, taking the middle of two sides. I'm going to be a Anav, but when it comes to Hashem and the Torah and all of that, I'm going to Hashem. I'm going to, tell my opinion, tell them what's right and all of that. Vayeishev is Vayeishev. So he also brought their bad report to their father of all the things that he held that they were doing bad and all of that. And then, that's basically what I wanted to say in the moment. One more thing I wanted to continue was with the dreams. So, the dreams. So now, the first dream he had was a bunch of stalks of wheat bowing down to him, and the brothers said, "Hamalach timlach aleinu, imashol timshol." Are you gonna become king over us? Are you gonna rule over us? In other words, it's never gonna happen. No matter, we're for sure never going to put you on as king on us. But even it's never gonna happen. It's not. No, there's no truth to it. And they hated him for his dreams and for his words. So the Ramban explains for his dreams and for his words. That means for his words because he said over the dream, which that you would think, okay, that's a gaivadik, a haughtiness or whatever, showing that you believe in them, and you say it over in a haughty way or whatever. So they hated him for that. Secondly, they hated him for the fact that he had those dreams. So that could be because they had a thought that maybe they were true, or they believed that he was thinking about this all the time. So that's now the second dream he had was that behold the sun and the moon, and 11 stars were bowing down to me. So, and his father rebuked him for that. Yakov rebuked him for that. Now, what does this dream represent? So I think Rashi says that his mother, and then Yakov says to him, "Am I and your mother and the 11 stars gonna and my son's gonna come bow down to you to the ground?" So the Ramban says that this really wasn't the interpretation of the dream. The interpretation of the dream is like this: the sun is Yakov. The 11 stars are the tribes. The moon is not the mother. All the children and all the so in other words, Yakov well, it doesn't have to mean that Yakov misinterpreted it, but anyhow, but let's say if we say Yakov was saying the mother because the moon is the mother, so according to the Ramban, he misinterpreted it. Because the moon is the reflection of the sun, meaning what's the result of the sun? In other words, all the 70 offspring that came were a result of Yakov Avinu. The offspring of Yakov Avinu, a reflection of the sun, a reflection of Yakov. That was the dream, and it actually all came true. So that's just the interpretation of the dream according to the Ramban. I didn't see the Malbim's interpretation to this dream, but very interesting. Anyhow, that's all I had for this week. So I hope you enjoyed, and if you like these videos, please, if you enjoy these videos, please like and subscribe and comment if this topic is interesting to you or you have any questions. And yeah, see you in the next video.